Okay, this is Jaypal. I'm working in IT as a build and release engineering department as a build and release engineer. I was in this field for about 11 years, um, but I'm working on the Perforce server from past six to 7 years. Uh, is it clear now? Let me mute other. Is it good now? Am I audible? Okay. So this is. I'm going to take two sessions on the Perforce. Uh, our agenda is the overview on the Perforce, the server installations for this demo, basic operations, exploring GUI visual tool, advanced operations, handling conflicts, branching and integration, jobs, label, P4V. Again, it is a GUI tool. So in the first session, I'll talk about the first four topics till exploring the GUI visual tool. In the second session, I'll talk about the rest. Mm. So in the overview part, we'll see what are the how the purpose works. Okay, let me come little closer. Is it better now? Okay, so we'll go to the topics directly. Okay, so in the overview we'll see how the servers looks like, meaning the server architecture, how it works, what are the clients we use to access the Perforce server, and then we use some terms when it comes to the Perforce. So we'll look at the definitions of those particular terms. Okay, so the server mainly maintains two kind of information. One is the depots, another is the metadata. So depot is nothing but the files we check in into the Perforce server. uh, if you create a folder, even on the Perforce server side also it will create a folder, and for each file it will create, depends on the type of the file. If it is a text file, even though you check in, even though you modify for several times, it will actually create only one file to maintain the different versions. Okay, but Mm, but if it is a zip file or a binary, it will call as a binary file. So which is not text, meaning like maybe a image file or maybe a zip file or any PDF file. Okay, so uh, these all called the zip files. So it called as a binary file. So binary, for each check-in it will create a new file. So there is a little difference between a text file and a binary file. So for text file, even though you modify for several times, okay, so it will actually maintain only one file. So in one file itself it will maintain the all the modifications on the server. But if it is a binary file which is not text, meaning as I said, it is a, like, maybe it is an image file or maybe it is a PDF file. Okay, so that one, for each check-in it will create a new file. So that is about the depot files. And the metadata is, yeah, in the definition itself you have the meaning, information about the depot files, meaning who actually checked in the this particular file, what is the history, who are the users available on the server, who are the clients available on the server. I mean, yeah, even jobs information, label information. So everything will be there in the metadata. So server mainly maintains these two, so depot as well as the metadata. Okay, so this is about the server. Okay, so when it comes to the architecture, I mean, Perforce actually supports two kind of architecture. One is a centralized, even though it will support the distributed. um, it's more or like a server. I mean, Perforce works like a client server technology. So you have main server one, so all the clients will be connected to the server. So even the distributor also is the same as a client server only, but thing is, I mean, you have some hierarchy when you have a different locations across the ocean. So that time we use this kind of architecture, meaning the distributed architecture. In the centralized, what I mean, you have just one office. Okay, so all the employees are working on at a place. So that time we use a centralized kind of architecture. So you have a server, main server, and all the clients are directly connected to that particular server. So server maintains the depot files as well as the metadata. So clients, whenever clients trying to sync it, so it will go and get the files from the server. But when it comes to the distributed, okay, so in each so in the distributed sorry, it went to the next. So in the distributed, yeah, uh, the when you have offices, or when the work areas are in a different locations. So in that, what in that case we install proxy server in each location. Okay, and all the proxy servers will be connected to the centralized server. Okay, so in a location all the clients are connected to, I mean, their own proxy server. So here, what I mean, there is a little difference between the main server and the proxy server. So main server maintains the metadata as well as the depot files. Okay, but proxy server will maintain only the the depot files. It will not maintain about it will not maintain the metadata. Okay, so if any client asks for any particular file, so what happens is, so via proxy that request first goes to the server to get the metadata. Okay, so that metadata information first it will comes to the proxy server. Okay, so proxy server will check whether that particular version is available within the proxy or not. If it is there in the proxy, then it will give that particular file to the client. Okay, if it is not there, so then it will goes to the main server and download it to the proxy server, and then it will goes to the client. Okay, so any revision or any version of the file will be transferred only once from the main server to the proxy, but the remaining times, okay, now it is already downloaded to the proxy server. If another client is trying to access the same version of the file, it will give directly from the proxy server. So it will not again download from the main server to the proxy server. So I mean, that reduces the bandwidth between the main server to the particular location. So if you don't have a proxy server, okay, uh, at all, so what, so in the location one all the clients should connect to the main server, as well as from the location two also you will have all the connect, I mean, all the clients will be connected to the main server. In that, what in that case, what, so on the main server you will have many connections. So in this case, what I mean, without proxy servers, so you will have total 5 connections to the main server. But I mean, with the proxy server, what I mean, you just have 2 connections to the server. Okay, I mean, here in this case I'm just in the diagram you have, but in the location, I mean, you'll see at least 10 clients or 20 clients in a particular location, not just one or two. So if you take 2 locations to 20 users per location, in that case, what you'll have 40 users. So all 40 users directly connect to the server if you don't have a proxy. Okay, But if you have proxy server in each location, so in that case what, even though you have 40 users on the I mean in all the locations, but you will have only 2 connections to the main server. So that way what, so for main server it is easy to maintain the connections, as well as you'll have I mean reduced, I mean you can I mean you can reduce the bandwidth between the main server to each location. So how we are reducing the bandwidth? Uh, uh, so proxy server, what happens is, I mean, it will download any file for just for once. Okay, I mean file meaning the version of the file. So one version will be downloaded only once from the main server to the proxy server. Okay, for rest of the requests it will serve from its own repository only. There are few questions here. Let's look at it. Ravikant, can you hear us? Okay, all right. So, I mean, I just want to give one example here. Now you have a location 2, and a particular client wants to check in a file. So what happens is, so when a client is trying to check in the file, first it will store in the proxy server of the location 2, and it will update the in the main server. Okay, so what, so the new file will be available in the proxy server of the location 2 on the and in the main server. Now if a client is trying to access that particular file from the location 1, so then what happens is, so yeah, for each request, yes, I mean the request will directly goes to the main server to get the metadata, because proxy server will not maintain any metadata. So it goes to the main server. So and it also gives the information to the proxy saying this is the file information. Okay, so proxy server will check in the location 1 whether that particular file is available or not. So that is not available because that came from the location 2, and it is a first, I mean it is the request is I mean request for that particular file is for the first time it is getting. So it will go to the main server, get that particular file, keep in the proxy server, and then it will give to the I mean it will give to the client. Okay, so it is copied now. Now what if another user in the location 1 trying to access the same file? So what, so it will goes to the main server, the request will goes to the main server, obvious. But thing is what, so it will first time it will give the only the metadata information to the proxy server. So metadata information, it will check the location or the version of that particular file. So it is already copied from the main server to the client, I mean the proxy. So it will give that directly from the proxy server to the client. So that way what it is, I mean that file is transferring only once from the main server to that particular location. That way we are reducing the bandwidth between the main server to the each location. Okay, so it is not completely distributed, but it is a semi. So always it will maintain the server client architecture. So here also what I mean we are not reducing, I mean the request is always going to the main server, obvious, but only thing is the file, it will be transferred only once from the main server to the each location. So that way we are reducing um, the bandwidth. Okay, but you see in each location what, I mean anyway that is connected in the LAN. So I mean we don't care about the bandwidth usage in each location. So that is fine, but only thing is what, I mean when you are across the ocean, so the bandwidth, I mean you'll have a limited connectivity between the main server to each location. So we have, I mean the main intention here is to save the bandwidth between server and a main server and the location. Yeah, so if you have too many proxy servers and a very less number of clients under a particular proxy, better to have better not to have a proxy. If you have more than 20 users in a location, okay, then or more than 10 users also, right? Okay, if you have more than 10 users in a particular location, then you should have a proxy, but otherwise you don't need a proxy if you don't have more than 10 users. Okay. So we use these client programs to access the Perforce server. P4 is a command line, so we use P4 command to do operations from the command. P4V is a GUI tool, visual tool. It will be available. Is available for all the different operating systems. Um Windows, Linux, Solaris, even the for iOS is available. P4 Web, P4 Web is to just to it will not allow you to check in or check out the files, but to view. Who are what is the history on the server, who checked in. So those information will be available from the P4 Web. Okay, and the plugins. Plugins is like, see, in the development mode, you use many IDs like Visual Studio, or if you comes to the Java development, Eclipse or IntelliJ something. So that uses the plugin. You don't need to actually use P4 command or P4V GUI tool to check in or check out. So the plugin itself will allow you to check in or check out from the IDE itself. So you can go to the Visual Studio, and from there itself you can actually check in and check out the, or even the view the history of the file. So many things you can do. Whatever you can do from the P4V, a P4 client like a P4 or P4V, so you can do same from the your IDE, so development tool. Maybe it has many plugins. You have official plugins from the Perforce itself. Some are third-party tools you have. But depending on your development mode, you can check. You can download particular plugin and install for your convenience. Okay. Without plugin also you can work. If you, if you can download P4V, so that is a very GUI. Very good GUI tool to use it. Okay, so there are some of the terms we are going to use in the Perforce. Okay, so we already saw the depot. So depot is a version files which is going to maintain on the server. Okay, then sync is nothing but getting the files from the server to the local machine. Checkout or open. So whenever you try to modify any file, so we'll say as a checkout. So when you check out the file, it will mark, okay, saying, okay, this particular user marked this particular file for modification. So it'll mark on the server. If any other user trying to check out, or when he look at the that particular file on the on other user, so it'll say as, okay, this particular file is checked out by particular other user. So you will come to know that, okay, the other user is trying to modify this particular file. So even if you are trying to modify the same file, you can inform other user, okay, when he can check in again after the modification, so that on top of his modifications you can make the modifications. Okay, but it will allow to it will allow to modify the file simultaneously. Okay, but only thing is, what if other users checks in before you check in, So for your check-in, it will give the conflict. We'll see that. I mean, how to resolve the conflicts and all. We'll see. So, but checkout is like you are going to mark this. Okay, you want to modify a file. Okay, so check out that particular file. So nothing but it will mark that particular file as checked out by your name, your username. So other user, when they look at this particular file, so there in the GUI tool, it will show as this particular file is marked for open by the particular user. Okay, submit. Okay, so you checked out, you modified the things. So now what you need to save these particular changes on the server. So you can save the changes by submitting the file to the server. Okay, so that is called submit. Okay, the change list. In the Perforce server, when you do submit, okay, it will assign a number to each submission. Okay, so it is whenever you start the server for the first time, okay, first check-in will be number 1. Okay, then the next submission will be number 2, next submission will be number 3. So it is a sequential order increasing. Okay, so with the change list number, you can compare whether this change list is checked in first or other change list is checked in first. Okay, so change list number is nothing but the number assigned for the each submission. Okay, so it is a sequential order by the time. Okay, so if I check in first time, okay, the number 1, so the second, for the second check-in, it will be number 2, like that. Okay, there are some questions here. There is a little difference between the check-in and the version of the file. Okay, so that's what the next step is a revision. Okay, so revision is different, the change list is a different. Change list is the global to the Perforce server. Okay, so with the change list, I mean, any file can be modified. Okay, if the revision, if you take the revision, uh, revision is a history and a file. Okay, so when you commit for when you adding a file for first time, so it will say it has a revision number 1. Now you modified the file and you submitted again. Okay, so that is the revision number 2. Then you again modify the file, again you submitted, so the revision number 3. Okay, so there is a little difference between your change list and the revision number. So revision number is the change on the server. Change list is the change on the Perforce server globally. Okay, so that is the difference. So so revision is nothing but the history on the file. Okay, so nothing but a version of the particular file. Okay, so but change list is a history on the server, is a global to the server. Okay, so change list contains, I mean, set of the files. Okay, may not be all the files, right? So you'll change one particular file and you submit. See, whatever the information is global for all. I mean, nothing. I mean, it is nothing like proxy server has a different change list or a different revision, and a main server has a different. No, I mean, if you are checked in a particular change, so the change list number will be global for all the proxy servers, and also main server. Mm, I mean, we'll come to know. I mean, we'll come to know more things. I mean, like what is the change list, what is the revision when we actually do the check-in, check-out on the server. So I'll explain those. Okay. Then the workspace client, workspace or client. Okay, it is a setting like between the server and the client. So I mean, when you sync the code from the server to a particular machine, so where it actually has to copy the files, so that mapping will be there in the workspace. uh, like, okay, so you want to copy in the D drive, maybe a particular folder you want to copy, so you just keep that particular setting in the workspace so that it will copy those files from the server to the client. We will see that. Okay, then the job is an element, okay, to use to group the change list. So job is mainly used for tracking the bugs or tracking any enhancement in the or any feature in the product. Like, okay, so I want to I want to resolve this particular bug reported by a client, by a client. So what, I mean, developers can look at the bug and they can check in, but as a manager, if I want to see whether this bug is fixed, or I mean, what is the change made on this particular bug, so no way you can track it. Okay, so they what they do is they'll create a job in the Perforce server. Okay, so okay, bug this number, so they'll create such a job in the Perforce server. So when a developer checks in fix for that particular bug, so what they do is while submitting, they'll attach this particular job to the to this change list. Okay, so they when they submit, it will create a change list, right? So to that particular changes, they attach this particular job. So what, I mean, after some time, if I look at the job, okay, so it will have all the change lists which are submitted against this particular job. So from there, I can see whether it is fixed or not. If it is fixed, what are the change list or what are the changes made to fix this particular bug. It is just to track the change list. That's it. Okay, if you have a feature, okay, I want to have this kind of feature in my product, so they'll create a job with a particular name. Okay, so whenever a developer checks in the code to address that particular feature, then they'll attach that particular job to their check-in. So what, I mean, I can check in one change or multiple changes. I can submit multiple changes to the server. So for each submission, I'll attach that particular job. Okay, so if you look at the job, so it may have one change list or it may have multiple changes to address that particular feature or to address that particular bug. It is just to track the bugs or just to track the features. Okay, the label is, I mean, mainly they used to track the milestones, meaning maybe iteration 1. Okay, so till this changes, okay, iteration 1, so you checks in again the changes, and okay, you will call as an iteration 2, so iteration 3. So it is just to track the track a state of a particular of milestone. Okay, so I mean, both are same. Job and the label is the same. I mean, it's an element, but the job is to group change list, but label to group the files. That is only the difference. But I'll explain what I mean in detail when it comes to the uh, jobs and label part. Yeah, I mean, we can. I'll explain each term. I mean, when it comes to the practical. Okay, when we do some check in, check out, and all. So I'll explain what these terms are. Okay. So let's go to the next slide. So in the real time, we are not going to install any server, but for you to practice, so I'm just going to cover even the server installation on the Windows. Okay, so first we need to download the binaries, then we install the server client, create the user, set the password, and install the virtual client. So I mean, this is just to practice at your end. Okay, I'm going to show you how to install the Perforce server. Okay, so you need to download the binaries from this particular link. Okay, so this is, uh, let me go to this particular link. If you see here, uh, so this is a Perforce server P4D. Here you have downloads for these operating system: Windows, Linux, Macintosh, Unix. Okay, so for Windows, I actually downloaded 64-bit because this laptop is Windows 7 64-bit. So I downloaded this particular um, binaries. But for you, if it is a 32-bit, you can take the 32-bit. If it is a Itanium version, if it is a server class, so you can um, install that. So let me ping this. So you can download from that particular link. Mm. And also you can uh, download the P4V, the visual client. So either this is 32-bit or 64. I downloaded the 64-bit client for my use. So when you download, so you'll get the Perforce 64 and a Perforce P4V 64. So these two, this is a server installation binary file. This is client P4V installation binary file. So these two I downloaded. Okay. Okay, so download the Perforce server for the appropriate platform. Okay, so this is a trial version. So trial version will support 20 users. So if you have less than 20 users, you don't need to buy any license. Okay, but if you have more than 20 users, yes, you have to buy the license from the Perforce server. Okay, so let's install the server. Okay, so install a server with the default settings. Make sure you enter Joe. I'm using as a Joe as a username in the third screen. Okay, but otherwise you can give your own username there. Okay, so let's start the installing server. Yes. So it is asking to, asking to select the components. I don't need a proxy here because I just want to have server and the command client. So I just selected two. So the proxy is not going to install in this. So this is the location. If you want to use same location, it's okay. But if you want to change it, you can change it. Okay, you can click on the change command and the button, and you can select the other folder. But I want to install the same folder. Okay, go next. Okay, so by default your proxy, the Perforce server runs on the port number 1666. Okay, so I want to make it this, um, the same. Okay, the username, so I want to use Joe as a username, but you can give the your own username. Okay, so this user is going to be administrator for your Perforce server. Okay, so go next and start. So I actually selected the default values which it's shown. Okay, only thing is I gave my username, so that's what you need to take care. So if you want to have XYZ, so you can enter XYZ there in the as a username. So in the installation of the server, okay, make sure that you enter the username in the third screen. Okay, and after the installation it will create a service called Perforce in the services list. Okay, so that anyway it is going to create. Okay, it supports 20 users with the 20 workspaces. Okay, so if you have just 10 users, you don't need to buy a license for the Perforce server. But if you want to have more than 20 users, then you have to buy. Okay, I guess this is done. Yes. So with that, what you have installed the Perforce server and it's up and running. Okay, so create a user and the set password. Okay, so for the first time after the now what you created the user, but you haven't set the password for that particular user, right? So what for to set the password, you need to open the command line. Okay, I'm opening the command line cmd. Okay, so for you need to set two things. One is the server's uh, uh, server's host and the port number. So you need to set the P4 port. I mean, my server is on the same machine, so mm, localhost colon 666 So if you give the different port number, yes, mention the different port number. Okay, set P4 user. Okay, I gave as a Joe, so I'm giving the Joe as a username. Okay, then run the P4 user. Okay, P4 user. So this will open up a window. Okay, which is just edit this full name. Okay, so Joe is a username, but maybe the name of this particular user may be different, XYZ. Let me put it in a caps. Okay, I'm just saving and coming in. So the preferences will be saved for the Joe. You can edit even the email also. If you have joe@gmail.com, yes, you can set that. Okay, but otherwise not required. Then now set the password. So it will ask for the, here it's asking for new password because we haven't set anything. So I'm just entering the Joe as a password. Okay. So this is actually a administrative task. It is not your task in the real time. But I want to show you this because if you install it your side, okay, this will help you to create the user as well as to start working on the Perforce server. This is actually what in the real time what administrator will create a user and he will set a password and he will give it to you. Okay, so in the real time this is not your task. Okay, so you'll get the username password, you just start doing check-in and check-out. That's it. But here what we need to install the server, so that's why I'm showing this. Okay, so whenever after the installation of the server, you just need to set two things. One is a P4 port and a P4 user. P4 port will have the information like on which server it is installed and on which port it is running. Okay, so you'll separate it by the colon. Okay, so you need to set that and set the P4 user also. So which user you actually mentioned in the third screen, so that you need to mention. Just run the P4 user command to save the user information like name and the email. Okay, and then run the P4 password command, so which will ask you to enter the password. Okay, then install the visual client. Okay, so I actually already installed, so just run this particular binary. Okay, with the default settings, you don't need to change anything, just run it. Okay, so it will install even the visual client. Okay, now let's do the basic operations. So from here in the real time, from here you're going to start your work. Okay, so till now what you have, the username password. The username is Joe and the password also Joe. Okay, so that's what you have. So now let's do basic operations like login into the server, configure the client, sync the code, add a new file, edit the existing file, and submit the changes. Okay, first I'll explain in the command prompt. Okay, then we'll go to the visual client. Okay, so login into the server. So whenever you have the username and password, to, let me come out this. So let's start from the scratch now. Okay, so whenever you have the username and password to log in into the server, so first you need to set two things. One is a P for user, P for port from the client. Okay, so let me open the command prompt. Okay, so first thing you need to set is P for user, Joe set P for port. This is about the server information. Okay, so it is installed on the same machine, so I'm giving the local host. The port number is 1666. So these two I need to set. There is a question. Is it clear now? Okay. So I need to set two things, P for user and P for port. Okay. Then what? I need to do a P for login. So run P for login. So it will ask for the password. So I'm giving the Joe as a user. As a password. So Joe is logged in. Okay. So this is about how you can log into the server. Okay. So you need to set two things. One is a P for user and a P for port. Then run P for login. So this will allow you to log in into the server. What happens is when you log in, it will create a ticket. I mean, it is just like a session for you, so which will going to expire for 12 hours. Okay, so if for 12 hours, this session will be open for this particular machine. Okay, so so after 12 hours, again it will ask for the password if you want to do any operation. Okay, that you need to remember. Okay, now you need to configure the client. Okay, as I said, the client or workspace is to map your server to the client. Meaning now you have files on the server. If you want to sync it, okay, where to copy onto the local machine. So that mapping you are going to save in the client. Okay, so for that, okay, I need to run a command called P for client. Okay, JoDev. So JoDev is my workspace name. JoDev is my workspace name. Okay, I'm creating a workspace or client called JoDev with this particular command. Okay, so here, see, for each command, it's try to open a notepad to enter the details. Okay, so even in the P for user also, it opened a notepad to enter the details. So this is a, common behavior of the Perforce server. Okay, here you need to take care about two things. One is the root directory and the view. These two are these you need to take care when you run the client, P for client, or when you do settings. Okay, so the root directory is for root directory of your Perforce client files. Okay, I'll do something. Okay, okay, so I'm setting root directory as Joe dev. Okay, here in the view, this must be the first. You have two you have two sets in the view. So one, this is the Perforce path, this is the local path. Okay, so here you get the mapping. So okay, you have a depot called by default it will create a depot with a depot itself. Okay, so this is so what are the files under the depot will be copied here. So that's what the meaning. So this is the local path, this is the depot path, on the server path. Okay, now you have JoDev. This is what, this is the client name. I'm not specifying any path here. Okay, but where it is going to copy if I set this kind of setting. So the JoDev the client name will be replaced with your root directory. Okay, so if you have a file called abc.txt in the depot, so that file will be copied here in the Joe dev, nothing but in the Joe dev, in this particular D in the D drive, it will copy in the Joe dev folder. So it will create a folder called Joe. Under that, it will create another folder called dev. So under that, it is going to copy your a.txt. Okay. Now, if you have something like this here, I'll create another folder here. Okay, or otherwise, P4. If I do like this, okay, or otherwise I do like this. Joe P4. Here I'll create dev. Okay. Now in this case, what happens? Okay, you have a aa.txt in the depot. So where it is going to copy? If you have a setting like this. Okay, so my root directory is this. So it will create a root directory Joe P4. Okay, so under that it will create again a dev folder. Okay, so this Joe dev will be replaced with your root directory. Okay, so that is a functionality here. Okay, so if you have a aa.txt, so D drive Joe P4, under that it will create a dev folder. So there it is going to create your file. Okay, so let me save this. Okay, so my client is created now. Okay, so this is about how you configure the client. Okay, I mean, let's move forward. Okay, at the end we can discuss about the questions if you have any. Okay, now I need to sync the code. Okay, so before sync the code, you need to set one more environment variable that is called P4 client. Okay, so I'll set even you gave the client name as a Joe dev. So here also you need to set the same. So this is the third environment variable we are setting on the client. So first is a P4 user, then you set the P4 port. After creating the client, so you set even the P4 client. Okay, so only these three you need to set as a user. Only these three. Okay, now I want to get the code from the server. Okay, so for that you use P4 sync. Okay, so as I said, whenever you install Perforce server for the first time, it will create a depot called depot with the name itself depot. Okay, so this last three dots, nothing but you are going to get everything under the depot. Okay, folders and the files. Okay, so I'll press enter. Okay, no such files it is showing because I mean you don't have any file on the server. We just install the server, so that is why you're not seeing any file on the server. Okay, so let's go to that particular folder. Okay, D drive. Sorry. Okay, even it is not, it didn't created any folder here because it didn't sync anything. So let me create those folders. If you have the files under the depot, it must have created those particular folders like Joe. Okay, then it has P4. Okay, this must have created if there are any files on the server. Okay, but otherwise now we just install the server, so that's why you don't have any file on the server. Now what I'm going to do is I create a file. I'm going to create a file here, and then let me mute. Okay, so let me create a file and submit. Okay, so now I have to create a file here. Okay, so notepad. Not like this. Notepad. Some maybe first.txt. Yes. Okay. This is the first file. So I have created a file. Okay. Now I need to submit this. Okay. To submit a file, I mean, this is you created it for the first time. Okay. You don't have this particular file on the server. Okay. For that, what here I actually wrote those steps. Okay. Add a file. So you have to go to the that particular folder. Here, I mean, in our case, it is a Joe P4 dev. So that here, but in my presentation, I mentioned D drive. Okay. So I created, I mean, a notepad first file.c. Okay, we'll create the second file also. Okay, notepad second.txt. Yes. Okay. Second file. Okay, so I created two files here in this particular directory. Now I need to submit this. So before you actually submit these files, you need to add. Okay, so P for add first.txt, second.txt. Okay, so here it will show. So these two files open for add. Okay, now I'm going to submit this. P for submit. Now here you need to enter the description of this particular checking. Okay, so what is the description? Okay, this is my first check-in. I'm just saying and come on. Okay, so it added two files, change one submitted. So this is the first check-in on our server. So the changes number is number 1. Okay, now let's go to the next slide. Okay, edit the existing file. Okay, now I have second.txt. I want to modify it and submit to the server. Okay, first what you need to mark it as open, right? So for that you need to run p4 edit second.c. Okay, so here p4 before you edit. Okay, so you need to mark it as open. So this is we are calling as marking as open. Okay, second.txt. So this is open for edit. Now you just edit that particular file. Notepad second.txt. Okay, change on the file. Okay, now we go submit. Okay, for each submission it will ask for the description, so that you need to enter here. Okay. Now here what it is going to submit change number 2. Okay, so change list number is a number 2. No, you can edit any file for that matter. I mean, for example, I said a second.txt, but I mean you can give any name to the file names and you can edit anything. Okay, so if you want to edit a particular file, I mean the existing file, then you need to run p4 edit second.txt. Okay, I mean the file name can be anything. Okay, so first you need to run the p4 edit of that particular file, then modify the changes using any your text editor. Maybe you can use Notepad, maybe you can use TextPad, maybe you can use your IDE to change the content. Okay, then run the p4 submit, so that it will. So whatever the file you marked for edit, okay, So that file only it will pick by the submit. So if you are modifying something without running as a P4 edit, okay, then the purpose P4 submit we will not consider because you haven't marked that file as opened, right? What if we enter a file that does not exist, or will it create a file or show up an error? Okay, if you have a file, okay, that doesn't exist. Okay, now I create a file called third.txt. Okay, now um, um, notepad, in this directory itself I am creating third.txt. Okay, it created one. So this is third part. Okay, if I do P for submit now, what happens? Nothing. So it will say that there is no file to submit because you haven't added that particular file. So if you want to consider for submission, if it is a new file, if you want to consider that particular file for submission, then you have to run command p4 add third.txt. Okay, run this now. Now run the p4 submit. Then it will show that particular file for the submission. Okay, so whether if you are adding a new file, okay, then you have to run the p4 add. If you are editing the existing file, so you will need to run p4 edit. Okay, so then only your p4 submit will consider for the submission, otherwise it will not. Now if you run the p4 submit command, now it will show, okay, this third.txt. Okay, third file submission. Okay, so change 3 submitted with the depot third.txt. Can we combine all the files? Yes, I mean we can combine the files. So for the first time, I mean for the first change, okay, it actually submitted 2 files. The change one, if you see, okay, you actually submitted 2 new files. You can do, like, I mean you can add one file as well as modify one file in one with one change list. I mean you can combine those. Okay, I'll extend that even. Okay, now what? P4 edit first.txt. Okay, so I open even this notepad first.txt. Okay, change in the file. Okay, so I create another file. Okay, notepad a.txt. Yes, so now p4 add ea.txt is a new file, so that's why I'm adding for as a new file. Okay, now what? I have 2 files to check in. So one is a modified file, which is a first.txt. Another is a aa.txt, which is just added now. Okay, if you do a p4 submit, okay, so here, I mean you just give any description. Okay, change on the server. Okay, so here what, I mean the files list. Okay, if you see this, okay, so a.txt is add and the first.txt is edit. Okay, so save it and come out. So p4 submit will actually combine the 2 files. One is edited one, another is a added one. Okay, so this is this is about the basic operations like adding a file, sorry, first syncing the file, then the adding, editing the existing files. Okay, let's go to the GUI tool. Okay, visual tool. See if you can do same operations even there also. Okay, so when you install, I mean you have a P4V. Okay, so just run it. Okay, the same. Okay, so here the server, I mean you actually, I mean manage this via environment variables on the client, I mean on the command prompt. Here it is showing text boxes, but what, I mean you need to remember three things. One is a server, user, and the workspace. These three you need to remember. So if it is a command line, so you need to set the server, I mean here it is showing the server, but you need to set to the P4 P4 port. Okay, then user P4 user, the workspace P4 client. So these three environment variables you need to set on the command prompt. Okay, so this is the local host. My username is Joe. Okay, the workspace is Joe dev. Okay, press OK. See here it didn't ask me for the password because I already logged in. Okay, so that will expire after 12 hours. Okay, so if I open this client after 12 hours, this would have asked me for the password. So if I ask for password, yeah, you have to enter your password. Okay, now you have to see, I mean in the client you have the tabs here, depot and a workspace. Okay, so depot will show you the files on the server. So these are the I mean this is the depot and these are the files available under the depot. But in the workspace, okay, so it will show the folder structure. Okay, so this is my under this particular directory I have these folder files. Okay, let me reopen again. Okay, just open the P4V. Okay, here it will show the server. I mean, if it is a command client, okay, you actually set these things via environment variable. So you set the P4 port, okay, to the server name colon the port number, right? So here we need to set to the server. So server is a local host is installed on the locally, and the server is running at 1666. Okay, the username is Joe, whatever the username you have, under workspace we created with the Joe dev, right? So you can actually create a new workspace if you want, but otherwise it is not required. Okay, just press OK to open your GUI tool. Okay, I need to clear out, I mean this is what you need to do, but before to that I want to clear out few temporary files. Actually this is not required for you, but for me, let me open again. So server is localhost colon Joe, the workspace name is Joe dev. I just want to clear out the cache, that's it. Okay, so this is the depot. So under the depot you have all the files, workspace. So this is the root directory. Under the root directory you have dev. So under that you have the files. Even if you go to that particular directory, okay, so in the D drive, Joe P4 dev. So you have the files. Okay, now if you go to, I mean there are a few buttons here. So one is a history. Okay, if you click on history, So here I selected first.txt, so it is showing the history for this particular file. Okay, so here you see there are two numbers. Okay, #2/2. So the first number will show the revision number that you have in the local. Okay, the other number, the second number, it shows this the revision number that is there on the server. Okay, so if you have two, nothing but it is actually changed for twice. Okay, so the meaning you have two means, okay, you modify that particular file for twice, so it has two revisions. Okay, if you see the third.txt, okay, it has one, so nothing but it is modified for once. Modified or added, I mean both are same. Okay, so you just added, that's it, so you haven't modified anything. Okay, if you modify this file, yes, I mean it will create a new version, new revision called 2. So you have a revision numbers for each file. Okay, now if I select the dev, okay, so on the dev folder, it actually have, I mean you can, depending on your selection here, so the change list will change here, the output will be changed here. Okay, so if you select a directory, so what are the changes made on that particular directory? Okay, so meaning the child objects. Okay, so if a particular file is changed with a particular change list, so it will show that particular history here. Okay, so change number, you can select this and you can double click, it will open the description of that particular change list, like what is the change list number, what is the workspace, who submitted, the user. Okay, and what is the description of this particular check-in, and what are the files, whether it is added or edited. Okay, if you take the revision number 4, okay, sorry, change this number 4. Okay, so this is submitted by Joe and this is the description, and one file is added, one file is edited, so it will show the details. Okay, so now I want to modify a file called third.txt. I want to modify this file and submit to the server. So how I can do from the GUI tool? Okay, just right click. Okay, now mark for checkout. So nothing but you're running the P4 open on the background. Okay, so checkout. I mean for now you just, I mean just press OK. I'll tell you more about this particular screen in the next session, but select the default and press OK. Okay, now you mark this file for open, right? So when you go to the pending tab here, this is the pending tab. Okay, here the list it will show is that, I mean this file marked for open. Okay, so I want to edit this. Open with, maybe I'll open with a notepad here. Okay, so this is already has that content. Okay, changing file. Okay, I have changed. Now I want to submit this. Okay, right click, submit. Nothing but you're running the P4 submit command. Okay, so it is asking for the change description. Okay, submit. That's it. So if you go to the history of this file, okay, so you have two revisions. One is added. So with the change list number 5, you edited this file. Okay, so this is how you do the same operations from the GUI tool. From the GUI, it is very simple. Like right click and just with the clicks you can do all the things. Okay, so the main is you can go to the history. You can go to the submitted change list. Okay, to view the history and all. Okay, but you have two different tabs here. So one tab will show the files on the server, central server. Okay, workspace will have the local files. Okay, it will show the local file directory. Okay, now I have revision number 2. I mean, but I want the revision number 1 only. Okay, I don't want revision number 2. Okay, you can go to uh, get the revision. Okay, you can do the get revision and you can say 1, get the revision. Okay, see this. So you will have 1 by 2, nothing but in the local you have revision number 1. Okay, revision number 1 change, but actually on the server it has a revision number 2. Okay, so I mean you can get even that way. So you don't need to get the latest. So if you want to get the latest, just right click it. Okay, get the latest revision. So you'll get that. Okay, latest. Now this file has 2 revisions. Okay, I want to see what is the modification happened on the revision number 2. Okay, so you can right click. Okay, and diff against the previous version. You can do this. Okay, so it will show a beautiful window. I mean, which has changed from the revision number 1 to revision number 2. So this was just changed. So you can look at the diff between the 2 revisions. Okay, you can actually drag and drop. So automatically it will show the diff between those 2 revisions. Okay, so this is more about the introduction of the purpose and the basic operations. So in this we saw the purpose architecture and how it works. But then we looked at the server installation, which is the administrative task. But I want to show you because you need to practice it. So then what, you looked at the command prompt of how you do a basic operation like adding, syncing, adding, modifying the existing file, then the submit. Even we looked at the GUI tool to do check-in, check-out operations. So I want to stop here. Okay. So in the next class, I want to show some more advanced tasks. Okay. If you have any questions in this session, just ask me. I have one more class, just one. So totally 2 classes. So this is the first class, and yeah, we have another class for some advanced operations. Yeah, there is one more class on Friday. Sorry, for you it is a Thursday. Sorry. Yeah, I'll talk to Niranjan. I mean, I actually recorded this particular session. Definitely, I'll